Wednesday, June 22nd, 2021. It's approximately 6 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that both the press and the public were duly notified in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Please feel free to join me or not while I say a short prayer to be followed by our saying the Pledge of Allegiance and then roll call. Heavenly Father, I thank you for everything you have blessed us with, our lives, our families, for this island we call home and this great country. I thank you for the incredible natural environment surrounding us that we all enjoy and recreate in. Now that we're in the midst of a busy summer season, please look over and protect everyone who lives here, who visits here, and those in public safety and the military who protect us 24/7. Lord, with hurricane season upon us, I ask that you look over all coastal communities around the world. Help us to teach others, especially newcomers, to be prepared for these hurricanes. Please help us and guide us tonight as we tackle some challenges and making the right decisions that will take us forward for future generations. I rest in peace knowing that you are always looking over me. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk Nicole Deneen, roll call, please.
Councilmember Popson.
Here.
Councilmember Streetman.
Here.
Councilmember Moy.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Here.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Pounds.
Here.
Mayor Carroll.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First on the agenda is citizens' comments. I know we have at least one person signed up.
Mr. Andrew Vega.
We got two people signed up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Andrew Vega. I live at 104 Sparrow Drive. I'm here this evening to thank the Isle of Palms Police Department and fire departments for their support for the 317th Airlift Squadron's water survival training that occurred on the 4th of June. The ocean environment provided an opportunity to have more realistic training where C-17 aircrew might ditch an aircraft. I'd like to especially thank Chief Cornett, Captain Swain, who provided drone support during the training exercise, Lieutenant Forsyth for coordinating the training area and the support surrounding the area where we were on the beach. Deputy Fire Chief Jason Smith, he coordinated training area out in the water as well as providing in-water support while we had members in the life raft during the simulation. And Corporal Hardy for providing social media releases so people were aware that morning when we stepped out to the beach. I appreciate the professionalism of both departments and look forward to the opportunity to work together again on a mutually beneficial training event. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you
very much. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure who
Pamela Wright.
Maybe adjust. We're good. Move the mic.
Yeah. Pull it off and hand it to you. Okay. And we did get your pictures.
Thank you.
I'll let her speak and then I'll take 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I let my wife speak all the time.
As long as I'm happy, he's happy. Mr. Mayor and distinguished guests of the council, thank you so much for having me. My name is Pamela Wright, and
Okay. Well, I'm going to use her 3 minutes.
Okay.
And so I got 6. Mr. Mayor, distinguished members of council, chief, staff, I want to thank y'all. We're here because we're in a unique situation. My name is John Wright. I'm born and raised in the Old Village and in Remless Point community. I spent 23 years, 8 months, 13 days in the United States Army. I left here, graduate of Wando 84. So I'm very familiar with my community. Often I hear that, where's my accent? Well, I can speak a little Gullah when it's appropriate. But nonetheless, I'm back home after 29 years away. I came back home about 8 years ago. Some of you may have seen me around somewhere. But we're here because my wife works at Channel 4. And just recently, 2018, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Well, as a result of the breast cancer, chemo side effects caused her to lose her vision and her balance. So she's not walked in more than a year. And it's been a challenge. I'm really gracious for the folks at Channel 4. And of course, my Mount Pleasant Police Department, Chief Richie, and those guys have done some amazing things to help us celebrate and kind of keep her lifted up. But as a result of that, we're now at the point where 8 years ago when I came home, we came to the beach once a week, twice a week sometimes. I've probably been to the beach more in my 8 years home than I did in my 17 years of living here before I left. So my wife is from Boston, and they don't have this beautiful beach that we have. They got a beach, but it's not as pretty as ours. So she enjoys it. But what has happened now, of course, as you may have seen the pictures, that there's no access to the beach that takes her kind of over and look at the beach. Now, I've looked at some of your minutes from Dayton back, and I know this is not a new or fresh issue. But what I also like to do is, as a leader, I like to not only present a problem, but I also like to present a solution and also work with you to get where we may need to be here. If you see the pictures that I sent you some information from Hilton Head, and I spoke with those guys, their facility guys, extensively this past week. And then, of course, I looked at Myrtle Beach, and I looked at the wheelchairs, the huge wheelchairs that they rent out. And, I think we're better than Myrtle Beach. And I think we're better than Hilton Head because this is my home. And I think we can do better than those guys. But we can learn something from them as well. So I wanted to, if nothing else, bring my wife before you. She's not the soldier that I am. I don't cry, not typically. But I wanted to bring her before you so you can see this is our new situation. But for a man that served as long as I have and a couple conflicts, I can handle mostly anything. So today I'm an advocate for her, and so I'm here to see what you all could do and what we can possibly do together to allow me to get her over to that beach. Her sister gave her a bathing suit for her birthday. And I told her to wear it tonight. And I was going to wear my swim trunks because our last name is Wright, and we wanted some answers right now. But we know that's not possible. But nonetheless, thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to speak for her as well as speak for the current situation. We know, you do all you can for ADA compliance and ensure that disabled have the same rights. And so I want to thank you. And I know we can do better than those two cities that I just mentioned. And what they've done is good. But I think we can do something even better here. And I would love to be a part of that. And then we can use Channel 4 as a bridge to close the gap and get them to do some positive press around this. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't want you to do anything special for me. I just want the beach to be accessible to everyone. Wait a minute. I'm going to get through this. We came to the beach on June 12th, right? And the police officer, I can't see, I don't know if he's in here. He told us that we needed to go to 42nd Avenue. And I was like, I drove all the way from the boardwalk to 40. Well, he did. He listened to me. And we drove all the way to 42nd. And I said, there's no ice cream. There's no pizza. There's no burgers. There's no bathrooms. And I went to the end of the blue mat and I could just see the beach. I didn't want to look at the beach. I wanted to go on the beach. I never get in the water. I just look pretty in my bathing suit and sit there and people watch. But I don't want you to do anything special for me. I want to make it accessible to everyone. As we were leaving 42nd, we came back this way because we live in Old Village. I happened to see a young man in a wheelchair, and he was with his parents, I assume. And he said to me, I said, I'm in a wheelchair too. And just the look on his face from not being able to go to the beach, he said after 10 minutes, they had to leave. I wish you all were there. That just crumbled me up Because I wasn't always in this wheelchair. I could walk on that beach. I could sit wherever I want to sit. And you don't think about what you cannot do until it happens to you. Unlike other people in wheelchairs, I can walk with assistance. I can walk. My 3 minutes is up. He told me my 3 minutes is up.
We weren't counting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I said, I can walk, but like other people who cannot walk, we like the water too. So again, council members and Ms. Mayor, I ask you to make it accessible to all, not for me, not to do anything special, but for all. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm willing to work with you so that we can make this accessible to all. Thank you.
And I was a 12 Bravo combat engineer. We built bridges. We blew them up too, but we build them so I could help. We can put her right in the middle of the water. Thank y'all so much. Really, I really appreciate it.
John, family, we don't go back and forth, but thank y'all for coming. And please reach out to me because there are ways to partner.
Yes,
we are working on this.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else in the residents, citizens comments? Dr. Cates. I love saying that, Dr. Cates.
My name's Riley Cates, 30. Been here 35 years. Love the place. Want to thank you guys so much for what you did during the COVID deal. I know it and the parking fiasco. I know it's a thankless job. Thanks so much. But anyway, we've just, I don't know if anybody else is like this. My family kind of hopes it rains out here because, maybe we can go pick up a prescription or maybe go downtown, have dinner. And finding ourselves doing that is kind of crazy. I don't know, that's an overstatement, but I think you guys know what I mean. So, a lot of people I talk to are having to time their trips on and off the island. I know there's nothing we can do to lessen the parking or the access to the beach, and I'm not saying that, but I just wonder if there's anything we can do. And the chief I talked to today said he's already talked to Mount Pleasant a little bit, but work around the edges, maybe just, make sure everything's synchronized, make sure people know that they can get in the left lane down here on Palm Boulevard when they're getting off. I remember we used to have people when holidays, we'd have officers manually running the traffic lights here and at Rifle Range Road. And then we'd have officers on Sullivan's and everybody kind of moving people along. So I don't know, maybe hire a traffic consultant. But if we do, let's, God's sake, don't get the Einstein that decided to paint the connector the way he did. So, but that's just my opinion. So, but anyway, I won't take up any more time. I want to thank you for a thankless job. I really appreciate it. But I think anything would be better than putting 8 orange cones out in Palm Boulevard and hoping for the best. So thank you very much, Chief. Thanks again. Appreciate that. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, anyone else? Once, twice, moving on. Next on the agenda is consent agenda. We have 5 items. Approval of previous meetings minutes, regular meeting May 25th and special council May 26th. Consideration of approval of Axon body camera, in-camera, video, software, and data storage. C, consideration of recommendation from the ATAX committee of an application by South Carolina Aquarium for the funding of $10,000 for the Turtle Trek 5K project. D, consideration of recommendation from the ATAX committee of an application by the Veterans of Foreign Wars VFW Post on the Coast 3137 for funding the amount of $15,000 for facilities maintenance. And E, consideration of providing free parking in the municipal parking lots on Mondays 5 to 8 for members of the Owl Ponds cleanup crew who participate in beach trips. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Nicole?
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on, standing committees, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll do a quick financial result through May. We've got 1 item to vote on tonight, and then we'll do a quick minute review from our meeting last week. So if we can put the financial results up on the screen real quick. in your packet, and for residents, it's in the package for the meeting. Thank you. So these are results through May. We've got 1 month left in our fiscal year, and again, finishing up much better than anybody would have thought we would have. So through May, our revenues, you can see, are just under 18 million. Our budget was just over 18 million, so we're almost at budget through the end of May. We're forecasting that we will finish the year at about 21.3 million, rough numbers. And just by way of reminder for council and residents, that does not include any of the county money that we're anticipating for the accommodation pass-through money, and does not include any forecasting for the American Rescue stimulus money. So this is kind of worst case scenario, or best case. Worst case, we should have much more revenue than this by the time we get to the end of the year. So a really good year. Expenditures are 16.2 million. Through May, we're forecasting that to be about just under 20 million. Some expenses have been moved to fiscal 22 year. General fund, we're anticipating an excess revenue over expenses of about 1.6 million. So again, much healthier than we thought we would have been when we were sitting here this time last year. We have about 25.5 million, rough numbers, in cash deposits. About 6 million of that is unspent bond proceeds on projects that will be spent shortly. And about 8.3 million is restricted for tourism and beach preservation. So questions on financial results? We have one item to vote on tonight. You had in your package consideration of proposal to extend the builder's risk insurance coverage for dock project in the amount of $27,602.39. So if we can have a motion and a second, we can get into some discussion.
Do we hear a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
So in your packet, you have a letter from our contractor for this insurance, and you'll remember it was structured a little bit differently when we did this. It wasn't included by the contractor in the first go round. And so our first policy expired a couple of weeks ago. So we need to either renew it or decide we're not going to do that. So you noticed in your packet, the insurance policy does not, or it excludes wind, flood, and a named storm. So what it does cover, fire, lightning, theft, etc. So the amount is $27,602.39. So I think some of our conversation tonight needs to be, do you pay that for the 4 months of the project that needs to happen, rough numbers? Or does the city want to take the risk on someone? Theft, I don't think is really an issue. I don't see someone taking a dock from us, but fire is really our issue that we have. So Desiree, anything to add or change to that?
Yeah, just to reiterate that the policy would not include, any coverage due to any storm damage or wind or flood. So it's pretty limiting. It is $27,000, but I'm seeking guidance and approval, one, because of the amount, and two, because the current policy that council did approve when the contract was approved last year expired June 1st.
Yeah, so the only thing that we're really providing coverage for in reality is fire for a dock located next to the fire station.
On the water.
On the water.
And any peril that's not wind, flood, or named storm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to narrow down to what we get for $27,000, and it just for 4 months, I might add.
Jimmy Ward. Sorry,
Is it in the budget, sir?
Yeah, it's part of the project budget. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Susan, sorry, John.
To put it in perspective, we're protecting the value
Of about $3.5 million, $4 million in total. That's assuming that the replacement cost is not going to be higher than what we're paying today.
That's part of the question that I had. What was the coverage amount? What's the deductible that we get with that?
I believe the deductible is about $10,000.
That's right.
Yes, but I can confirm.
So we are not touching the fuel docks until after season. So
Correct.
The fuel docks would be covered right now with their own insurance.
Not really, because they're under construction. I need new batteries for the microphone. for construction, they've already reached the end of their useful life. So the reality is, if those docks are not covered by insurance anymore. They're just not.
With this, you mean
with this, it would be covered during construction, but the old docks are not covered until they're replaced.
Have we ever had a problem in all the
Or a
years?
claim, yeah.
We had several claims in the past several years. Those claims were denied because of the condition of the docks. This would be covering the new docks during construction until the project is turned over and completed, which then they would be covered by our regular insurance, which we are in the process of seeking proposals. It becomes every time it's more difficult to get a insurance company to even assume the risk. That's why the premiums are so high. We talked about it during the budget workshop, some of the options that we had. This is just builder's risk insurance. So it covers the docks during construction for everything except any named storm damage, wind, or flood.
Rusty.
Yes. What kind of claims did we have historically that were denied? What were the circumstances around those?
The two docks that collapsed last year in the past 2-3 years due to some wake damage. But again, because of the condition of those docks and having met their end of their useful life, those claims are not covered.
But we didn't have any for fire, lightning, storms, that sort of thing, historically.
Not that I remember. Not that I recall.
Yes.
Do the docks have, since they're built to current standards, would they have some special fire protection so that would potentially slow if something did catch fire? Could we anticipate that there would be a lot of time for response?
They're eBay, so that's a good thing about the material that you all we all decided to pursue for the construction of the dock. So, that gives a little bit of additional protection, and they are fairly close to the fire station. So the response time would be pretty quick.
Anyone else?
Kevin.
Mr. Chairman, when does our normal insurance kick in for example, the dock that we finished or they've almost finished on the left side of the ramp?
When the whole project is completed.
Okay.
And turned over.
Anyone else?
Jimmy, just one additional question. But the 4 months, we will not. So when we're looking at this amount, we will not have completed the entire project, including the fuel hut, within 4 months.
Correct.
So we'll be looking at this item again.
No. The current schedule has the fuel docks being completed second week of November. At that point, then the normal insurance would kick in. That's when the project is scheduled to be completed.
Randy, I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is through this project.
This is through December 1st.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, this policy would cover builder's risk through December 1st.
Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me, just one indulgence. I would like to hear from other members of the council who are more schooled in what your thinking is on this. Those of you who deal in the construction industry.
Kevin?
Well, I'm going to repeat myself. Number one, I'm their biggest fan. I've been watching them since they've started down there, so I support them. But I have a hard time with this. I'm a builder. I've got to put up my own builder's risk, and I don't expect the homeowner to pay for it. So and again, I'm repeating myself because I said this before, but I don't know why this hasn't been included in their numbers or why they're not paying for it themselves. So I'm just having a hard time understanding that.
Councilmember Ward.
If it was my asset, I'd have a really hard time paying it, but it's not my asset. It's the city's asset, the citizens' asset.
You're a taxpayer though, sir.
Well, I'm just one, and so that's why I'm having a hard time with it.
Yeah, and Jimmy, I completely agree with you. If this was my personal property, I'd take the chance for 6 months myself. I go back and forth, and Desiree and I've had this conversation, but Jimmy, I'm right square where you are. It's a city asset, a resident asset, and 27,000 on $4.5 million, not a big number.
Okay, I think we are ready.
No comment just on the fact that I work with ePay all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've drop stuff, the hot stuff on it. And it's a hard one. It doesn't, I mean, unless it's getting extremely, it doesn't necessarily burn from just, a lit cigarette or anything like that. So, and then, like I said, the rest of the dock is made of aluminum. I think the biggest concern, what we would have to be is some type of electrical problem that would cause an issue for that to spread. And that's where I would have concern. I'm not worried about the structure itself. I'm just worried about, maybe a vessel, and I'm not sure how that insurance would work, overloading some of the big power. I mean, those are huge power supplies down there. And that's the only concern I would have with the risk of fire coming from those.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just more. Obviously, I just said what I said, but I do agree with Councilman Ward that it's not my asset; it's the city's asset. So we've got to protect our residents. So.
Okay. Are we ready to vote? Nicole?
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Reluctantly, yay.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Nay.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Nay.
7-2.
Surrounded by the enemy.
Jimmy, I was convinced with your commentary. I was good with it. Yeah,
Thank you.
But just so you know, my marina did catch fire one time. Somebody launched a boat. They didn't put the plug in it. The bilge pump kicked on. There was gasoline in the bilge. And the guy just pushed it out underneath my dock and caught it on fire. But his insurance paid for it. Right. Anyway.
You had the best luck, don't you?
I had the best luck. Okay.
Real quick, do a minute review from our meeting last week. We had our regular Ways and Means Committee meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, June 15th. We had a couple of citizen comments. We had a financial review from Treasurer Suggs. We had a new item that I hope was beneficial. Desiree ran through all the major projects that we have going on the island, about 5 of them. Gave a quick update. Those slides are also included in this packet for residents and council, just as a reminder. Old business, we had an update on the American Rescue Plan and the city's funding there. We had a report out of a UTV purchase for the fire department and also a jet ski for the fire department and repairs to the public safety building gate. We had a long discussion on the 42nd Avenue ADA boardwalk in light of tonight's commentary, and that issue has been sent back to the Real Property Committee for further exploration and consideration. Miscellaneous business, our next meeting of Ways and Means is Tuesday, July 20 at 6 p.m. Mayor, that's it.
Any questions for Ways and Means? Hearing none, moving on, Public Safety.
Public Safety Committee meeting was held at 10 a.m. Thursday, June 10th. All members were present. We had several citizens' comments. The comments were both regarding the Carter Beach shuttle and the location. And we'll have a little bit, probably more discussion and update during this report. We had a discussion of the golf carts, low speed vehicle regulations and enforcement. Chief Cornett reports that we're continuing to enforce the golf cart and low vehicle speed regulations. I think additional to that is, creating some effort to advise the rental property owners and management companies to post and making renters aware of those regulations. And Desiree, I'm going to ask, I don't know, rather than launch into, the discussion that we had on the Carter Beach shuttle, you would probably like to provide an update at this time.
I think Councilmember Ward wanted to as our Carter representative.
I forgot to ask you, Desiree, but it's probably not possible, but I would just request, is there any way that we can get that map that we were talking about projected up there? Or is it too, you don't have enough time? The corner of 10th and J.C. Long and Ocean.
The angled turn?
Yeah.
I'm not
report, but if you can't, it's okay.
It'll take some time, but I think that
I'm prepared. The beach, the beach shuttle is changed its location to where it was landing to 9th Avenue, and we're getting some pushback from some residents there. And so Monday, the mayor, the city administrator, and myself, we had a phone conference with Mr. Ron Mitchum, who's the executive director of CARTA, First off, we thanked him and the entire committee from the entire Low Country for helping us get this beach shuttle going, because we've been trying to do it for years and years and years, and it just never happened. I'd like to thank the council for shooting down their budget last year, and it convinced them to maybe help us a little bit. So all of you are to be congratulated for that vote. As far as the ridership goes, and then when I give you this, then we're going to talk about some proposed solutions that we, as Desiree and Jimmy and I, presented to Mr. Mitchum. But the first weekend, Memorial Day, was there was 95 total riders, and that was Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, was 29. The third weekend was 17. The fourth weekend was 39. As you all know quite well, except for last Saturday, we haven't had a really pretty beach day yet. And so we're hoping it's going to increase. Back to the problem about where it landed, the shuttle was supposed to, originally the proposal was at 14th Avenue. That's impossible because of the traffic so bad. The police chief could talk about this if he wants to, but we're routing people down J.C. Long or Pavilion and then taking a left on 10th to go into the county park. We can't have we just don't have enough personnel to have an officer stationed there at 14th just for the beach shuttle to go down 14th. So the three of us presented to Mr. Mitchum an alternative place for the shuttle to stop and let off passengers. And that would be to come down J.C. Long and drop them off at J.C. Long and Ocean. Now, it immediately occurred to me the problem is that turn. Boy, I sure wish I'd been around a bit to work on that design on the Bob Miller Walkway down there. It's designed to me. It seems like for residential use only, and it's got a lot of problems that because it's mixed use and that turn there. I'm just concerned that if they make that right turn and then go up to 10th and then exit the island through 10th, come down J.C. Long. I went down there and looked at it, and we'd probably lose one, maybe two parking spaces. The one closest to the Windjammer, and then next to it is a handicap parking space. Looks like to me we'll probably lose those. The turn is so tight. I'm not a traffic engineer, so I don't know what we're going to be able to do on that. But that's what we suggested to him. Another thing that we thought of after the meeting was just reversing it. And that is come down 10th Avenue, make the left-hand turn onto J.C. Long, coming back this way, and let the passengers out there. They'll be closer to restrooms, the commercial district, everything they need, and they have a beach access right there at the public restrooms. They're coming out Tuesday, and I understand that Desiree and the police chief are going to be meeting with them and see if we can work this out. But we're doing everything we can to try to alleviate the problems in the residential neighborhoods.
If I may.
Yes, please.
Yeah, just for some background, when the city staff signed off on the route that included the drop off at 9th Avenue, the reason for that was, again, concerns with the size of the bus and the turning points in these narrow areas that we have at Front Beach. And 9th Avenue is still about a block away from the commercial district, and seemed to make sense at that point. And it was also ADA compliant with the Moby Mat. But, we didn't anticipate the pushback that we have received in the past several weeks from the residential neighbors in that area. So we're trying to accommodate that by finding ways and options that would move that stop closer to Front Beach. Like Councilmember Ward said, we're meeting with their operations team on Tuesday to run those scenarios and maybe others and see what would work. to try to bring the shuttle back to the commercial district through the end of the season and hopefully continuing for other years to come. So we're certainly trying. There are just some limitations due to the size of the bus that we have to be aware of.
Tell them, you want to mention about the vans, or you want me to? They have vans, so I guess I will.
Go for it.
They have vans, and but their money is to be used on assets for specific use, and that's for businesses, business use only. So they're very narrow about what they can do. They don't have a whole lot of leeway about how they deploy assets. In case anybody was wondering about those, that was one of my first questions.
The other reason for the big bus too is, you all recall, some of the feedback that was received after the pilot program was folks' inability to have their umbrellas and beach chairs with them. So a smaller bus would be even more limiting to that. But Councilmember Ward is right. The vans, the small buses and shuttles that they have are specific for the van pool program, which is another initiative that the city is working with CARTA that's specific to transporting employees to the island from an offsite park and ride location. And those vans were purchased for that particular program. So they can't be used for a different initiative. So the bus that's being used right now, it's a bus that was previously assigned to the HOP program in downtown Charleston that is no longer, I don't think it's working this year. So they've rerouted that bus that was available to the beach shuttle. And I think that that's part of the reason why they were able to quickly mobilize and put a plan together for this season.
Mr. Chair.
Jim.
If we could, before Ron comes out here on Tuesday, maybe reach out to, I think it's Seaside Inn. It has the parking lot in there. If we could just kind of pull the bus over at that entrance to let people on and off. Just so they're not getting off in the road.
Well, that's a public right away.
The city owns it.
That parking lot's owned by.
You're talking about
right across the
JC Long. Okay.
Right. You have a comment?
I have a question.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. I was waiting for it to be recognized.
Who's running the show right
now? Ryan raised his hand, so Ryan, please.
My concern is with that, one of our, and I'm not quite sure why, obviously you just described why we went to 9th, and I still don't quite understand that, but I think a lot of people need to be dropped off in the commercial district where they have assets that they can utilize and get to. I think coming up, either 10th Avenue and, either utilizing the loading zones that are along Ocean Boulevard in that area, or for that, to make that, heck, we've already changed those loading zones twice, I think. We can, if we need to go through and dedicate it for some CARTA bus, we can change the sign for the season. But regardless, nothing's going to work until the county park changes the way they accept people into the lot. Because you can run that bus all day long. I was at the front beach this weekend having lunch, and traffic was backed up all the way to 10th Avenue. So the whole project falls on its face when you can't get people on and off the island. So until the county realizes that they need to think outside of the box, County Parks and Recreation need to think outside of the box and do what every parking garage does in the state, or in Charleston, city of Charleston, and basically every municipality, is charge people when they leave the parking garage. And I don't know why they're sitting on their hands about this, because it's creating a problem not only for visitors, but creating a problem for our public safety and for residents alike. I think that's our biggest problem. And that's the biggest thing that we need to address.
So just as an update, the city participated in a beach meeting with other stakeholders, other communities. The county park participated. We made sure that they were invited because they do play an important part in this issue. And we made a formal request to the county for them to reevaluate their payment procedures. And I believe they have a meeting, or they're having a meeting this week, an internal meeting this week, and we should be expecting some feedback from them soon, not only looking at the payment procedures, but what other changes they can make, maybe opening earlier or earlier than 9. So they are willing participants, and I think that they recognize the role that they play, and they're certainly eager and welcoming of any suggestions. So we're hopeful that maybe this summer they can make those changes.
Well, that's a 180 from where they were before, and the way it's been for years, and when we've tried to address it.
See, you asked and she jumps ahead of you.
Susan, did you have a
Well, 2 things. I wholeheartedly agree with Councilmember Buchanan, and 2 of my children have worked the gate at the county park, so I'm intimately familiar with what goes wrong there. But also, I was just curious to know, have we gotten feedback from riders in the new season about, and do they have any feedback on, I can imagine that they might actually like to be closer to the commercial district as well. So are we hearing it?
We haven't received any feedback.
That That's all I have.
I'll try to move along. Just a couple notable comments. I think the thing we need to look at when we look at the residential concerns is what does success look like, and the balance of that conversation. Success is hundreds of people on a weekend. It's not 75. And when you start dumping hundreds of people into a neighborhood with no facilities and expecting the communities, the residential portions of the communities to tolerate it, I think we can all expect some pretty severe pushback on that. And Councilman Ward, have we accrued any of those $250,000 a year where they could buy shorter buses to bring chairs? Pardon the sarcasm, but nobody anticipated these huge buses. And if you haven't seen them down there, it's problematic on the weekend. I went down there just to witness what was occurring, and we've got to have a solution. One other quick comment: I asked Desiree for future public safety committee meeting. That severe turn corner is something that we as a city ought to look at correcting, because we've had continuous pushback from the fire department. Now we're having it from the buses. It just doesn't make any sense to have something that's impeding traffic flow down there. So we'll put it on the public safety committee agenda. Moving forward.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Councilmember.
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
That's why I was going to ask if we've had the conversation about what success looks like.
Yes.
Specifically with CARTA, because at the end of the season, we're going to be evaluating this. CARTA is going to be evaluating whether or not they maintain this. And I don't recall that we've thrown out specific numbers of ridership. So I guess to Councilmember Ward or Desiree, I don't know if you have anything. I'm listening to your numbers and it's compelling.
The weather has just, it's not been good. It's about all I can say. If you have a bluebird day, it starts out really nice and sunny. People are going to go to the trouble of going to the town center and then getting on the bus and coming over here. But it is every day that I can remember, except for maybe 1 or 2, it started out just cloudy. But we're going to have some nice weather, and it's going. And ridership hopefully will improve. That's all I have on it.
I heard one of our residents say earlier tonight they want rain.
Yeah,
I'm not saying names.
But we don't have a specific. There's not like, hey, we expect to have 100 riders a weekend, and that's what we're aiming for, and we expect that would constitute a successful pilot versus anything less than that. We have not had that discussion.
No. Okay. No. Thank you. Moving along to the next uncontroversial subject: discussion of dog leash rules. So we had the almost annual discussion of dog leash rules, and without going into a lot of detail, we realize, the extremes are not really possible. The chief had advised the public safety committee that the easiest thing to enforce is something that's simple, like dogs are on the leash all the time, which is probably not pragmatic for the community. So where we left it was additional conversation focused on, what are the fines for uncontrolled animals? And, do people feel that the severity of the penalty is worth the risk when they know they have animals that frankly are a danger to public safety? So I'm sure we'll have some further discussion on that, and we'll stay out of that one for tonight. We discussed preparation for the 4th of July holiday weekend. As everyone knows, we are not having fireworks. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have a We're not having official fireworks, Chief. There's always fireworks.
Although they are prohibited.
They are prohibited. No, I was talking about other kinds of incidents and things that tend to be flaring up as well. But the chief is well in control of ensuring that we have preparation for 4th of July. We had discussion of additional golf cart parking areas, and Administrator Fregoso said that we were discussing with SCDOT ways to make golf cart crossings safer, and that staff had identified 46th Avenue as a potential space that may be suitable for golf cart parking. Other items, we had consideration of approval for the John Deere Gator. We covered that on the consent agenda, so I'm not going to go there. The jet ski for the fire department, also in the consent agenda, the Axon body cameras as well. Moving on to departmental reports, Deputy Chief Hathaway stated that we had 136 calls for the fire department for service in the month of May, a 74% increase over 2020, and also higher than similar calls in pre-COVID May of 2019. On the police reports, Lieutenant Forsyth shared that Wild Dunes hosted a police and fire department employee appreciation luncheon, which was much appreciated. I do want to call out Sergeant Storin was recognized as first responder of the month by the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce, and pretty awesome award for somebody from the Isle of Palms. So congratulations. The May incident reports included 25 drug charges, 12 DUIs, 1,206 parking tickets, 1,379 calls for service, resulting in 113 incident reports compared to 133 incident reports in May, and also 8 traffic collisions. And we are seeing coyotes, 24 coyote sightings. And we don't have in the report, Chief, but we actually have had some success trapping, which is notable. And I think we trapped 3 additional. We're up to 7. God, my memory hasn't totally failed yet. But we've been trapping them on private property and had much more success with the trappers than when we were trying to do it in the public areas. And the chief brought forward his new bowler apps, which are designed to slow people down without tasing them, which are quite interesting if anyone wants to view the videos from the Public Safety Committee meeting. And with that, the next Public Safety Committee meeting, Desiree and I had this conversation, is still scheduled for Thursday, July 1st at 3 p.m. And that wraps up the meeting.
Any questions for public safety? Desiree, you're pointing at something for me.
No, it's
no, her and I were debating the date earlier. We couldn't remember.
I do have one question to talking about the coyotes.
Yeah.
Were those privately trapped? Yeah.
Yeah.
On private property.
On private property.
Okay.
I have a question, and it's not on the agenda, but can you address the issue of speeding, people speeding on the cross streets, and whether have you stepped up enforcement?
We did not specifically discuss that, but it is a notable concern that'll be on the next Public Safety Committee agenda to discuss potential steps, because it's becoming incessant and intolerable.
Mr. Chair, on
yes,
that,
please.
I'm dumbfounded by the number of parking places we have between 21st and 57th Avenue, and the number of cars and the traffic staying backed up to 6, 7, 8 p.m. Where are they coming from?
Also not on the agenda.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. We're all scratching our heads, and I think in general believing that the rapid growth of hotels across the connector is people staying across the connector and visiting, whether they're parking or not, but it's notably problematic.
Thank you very much for a great report.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving on to Public Works.
Public Works Committee met at 5 o'clock Thursday, June 3rd, and we'll get into the minutes. But first, we have to deal with something that's on the agenda. Consideration of drainage easement and maintenance agreement with Lowe Wild Dunes regarding Phase 3 drainage outfall project. So, Desiree, Douglas, do you have anything?
Douglas, probably, yeah. You got away last time. You're not getting away this time.
So this is the easement that crosses the Wild Dunes Golf Course on the Intercoastal Waterway side of Waterway Boulevard. There is an existing easement there. There's an existing ditch there, but over the years that ditch has meandered outside of the easement. So we've been working with Wild Dunes to basically shape those easements as they should be shaped to house the drainage systems that within those easements. So it's a little bit of a widening of those easements, and we've worked through all those details with Wild Dunes and come to what we think there's an existing easement, but there was no easement agreement. So part of this was coming up with an agreement that spells out, who will maintain the system. If they break it, they do it. If we break it, we do it. All of those type of details have been ironed out amicably between the two parties. Any questions about that?
Just to add, Douglas, to what you said, we are required by the permitting agencies to have some type of permitting, some agreement that spells out this area where the infrastructure is going to be. Again, we've worked for several months on this document. We feel very comfortable with it. It spells out some guidelines and expectations about notices given when work, either maintenance work or emergency work is to be performed. We have to, let them know within 30 days of the work, just being cognizant of the space and how they use it. So once this is approved, we'll share it with our, it'll be part of the critical area permit, I believe, that we're pursuing for these outfalls.
Thank you. Any comments on that?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the drainage easement and maintenance agreement with Low Wild Dunes regarding phase 3 drainage outfall project.
Second. Discussion.
I'll just say it seems like a good example of drainage diplomacy. So thank you, staff, for making that happen.
Well, and I do want to say publicly thank you to the Low Wild Dunes for their accommodating our project. This is going to be the second project that sort of passes through their property. So they're a great partner, a great stakeholder for the city, and we're just eager to get this wrapped up.
Okay. Nicole?
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Moy?
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman?
Aye.
Councilmember Popson?
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Pound?
Aye.
Mayor Carroll?
Aye.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. So back to the minutes, first thing we did was we approved the previous meeting minutes of May 5th. There were no citizens' comments, department reports from the director and assistant director of Public Works. Director Pitts reported that garbage collection totals were lower for May, but he anticipates they will rebound in June. He also shared that 2 large vehicle maintenance issues recently consumed 1/3 of his vehicle maintenance budget. He didn't see it as a trend, but noted that the cost of repairs are increasing. Twice weekly garbage and once weekly recycle collections begin this week. And the assistant director had an extensive report on everything that's going on in the city, which is quite a bit, and they're doing a really good job there. The administrator said that additional trash cans have been added at heavily used beach access paths, and the 20 new barrels were put out for the holiday weekend. Under old business, update on phase 3 drainage project, small internal projects on Waterway Boulevard path elevation. The administrator reported that applications for the Waterway Boulevard path elevation and Forest Trail outfall have been submitted to the CTC. She anticipates an answer in a few months. She said that Thomas and Hutton had updated the cost estimate for those projects. Forest Trail outfall, originally estimated cost $800,000, now it exceeds $1.4 million. The Waterway Boulevard project, originally estimated to cost just over $600,000, is now expected to cost $900,000. Both estimates include 25% contingency. The 3.5 million borrowed for the outfalls may not be enough. So Director Kerr reported that 14 permits are needed for the outfall projects. And to date, we have 1 that's been fully approved, 4 have been conditionally approved, and the remaining 7 are in various stages of approval. So it's quite a in-depth thing there to get all these permits. And the work at the 41st Avenue that is being worked on will be completed after Labor Day. An update on island-wide drainage master plan RFP. Director Kerr said the Planning Commission will hold a special meeting on June 9th to interview 3 to 5 companies who submitted the bid proposals on the drainage master plan. We had a discussion of the creation of environmental advisory committee, and there's been a page on the city's website for interested citizens to apply for membership. Happy to report, as of 3 o'clock today, we've had 11 applications so far. So I'm really glad to see all the interest. The deadline to submit applications will be June 30th, and I imagine that the personnel committee will shake those out, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. The next meeting in the Public Works will be Wednesday, August 4th at 4:30. We're going back to what we used to do. We take 1 month off in July, unless there's an action item that it needs to be addressed, and then the committee will meet sometime in July. And the meeting was adjourned. That's my report.
Do we have any questions for Public Works? Hearing none. Recreation did not meet, but the chair asked me if you wanted a couple comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to plug the farmers market that we kicked off for summer season this past week, and it was spectacular. If you didn't make it, then you missed it. But the good news is that it will be once a month through the summer into September. The next one will be Thursday, July 15th from 4 to 7. And we will have food trucks and music and shopping and vegetables and friends and family. It is a great event for all ages. And I think it's a welcome in this moment as we move on from the pandemic restrictions. So thank you to the rec staff. It was by doing it monthly, they are able to go bigger than what we had been doing recently or more recently. So come on down to the farmers market.
I'd like to, yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
I would like to concur. I mean, I think it's the best one ever. And amongst the trees, there's a lot of breeze and shade and the music. I mean, it was well done. Yes, sir.
I was just wanted to know, are we inviting our local restaurants and merchants to participate?
Okay.
Oh, and I should say, I should note that it is in a different location. If that wasn't clear, it's over by the playground, which I think is also great. And our next meeting, while we took June off, is going to be July 12th at 8 a.m.
Mr. Chair,
moving on.
Let me make one comment
Yes,
too. I just want to concur as well. For those of us who attended the farmers market, it was a job well done. Put on very well. Great turnout. Seemed to be a lot of excitement. So definitely, I just wanted to add my congratulations as well to what it looks like, and let's continue doing some good things with that on a monthly basis.
Okay, moving on. Personnel, Mr. Moy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We got a few action items, so you're ready. Personnel committee met at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, June the 9th. We had a special meeting or two, as we're wont to do these days as well. So I'm going to wrap everything up in these minutes. First, we got an update on the wage and compensation analysis. The fact of the matter is it's moving a little bit slower. That part of that's on us. We've made some changes. We've thrown some curveballs to the group, but staff is working with the Evergreen Staffing Solutions to present a plan. Frankly, it's not going to impact anything this fiscal budget year anyway. It's really going to be worked into the next budget. So at this point, there's not a major rush behind it. So we're just making sure that we get it done right, that the implementation plan is aligned with the goals that we set forth to Evergreen Solutions previously.
Well, just to clarify for the record, we do have funds included in this fiscal budget, this fiscal year, $140,000, if I'm not mistaken, to implement a portion of the recommendations once they're available. So there are funds in this budget year for.
Thank you for the clarification.
Fiscal 22.
For fiscal 22, the fiscal year that starts July 1st.
Correct. Thank you for the clarification. We did have a discussion on the wording of the referendum question for the size of city council. And I think we came up with relatively good consensus from the committee to make a recommendation at this point to, that is an action item on the agenda, if I recall correctly. Yes, no.
That is under the section for first reading, ordinances for first reading.
So we'll just cover that in a little bit. That was everything under old business. Under new business, we did interview 2 candidates for city attorney. We actually had one apply. We interviewed 2 city attorneys.
Correct, but only one during the first.
I know. I said I'm lumping them all together. I'm bringing all the specials together into one.
He's being efficient.
Yeah. This is what the personnel meeting did prior to today.
Thank you.
So we've interviewed two candidates for the city attorney. There was some discussion as to which would be assistant versus prime, and I'm gonna speak what I understand from my conversation with Desiree, because she had some follow-up conversations with the candidates after personnel committee met. But essentially, one of the applicants preferred the assistant position and the other preferred the prime. And so I'm going to make the recommendation in the form of a motion that we appoint Halverson and Halverson as our primary attorney and Haynesworth Sinclair Boyd as our assistant city attorney.
I'll second that.
And Desiree, if you want to add some additional color to that, if you feel like you need to.
No, I mean, the city had received, you all, know that Jim Hinchy has closed down his private practice. And since then, the personnel committee has been looking at, how to fill that role for the city. Before the vacancy by the city attorney, we already had a vacancy for the assistant city attorney. So you all would be taking action to fill both of them. As you all know, Brent Halverson is already, we've had a long history with Brent. He's handling multiple cases for the city in terms of litigation. The history and the wealth of knowledge that they bring to the table in city issues is very helpful for sure. We've had really good outcomes in that relationship. The city was also looking at a different model and also engaging a firm that has more resources that could be beneficial to the city when dealing with issues like FOIA and just time-consuming issues, and having a little bit more expertise in some of the problems that we've encountered, parking, beach access, and so on and so forth. So the personnel committee interviewed both, and it seems like a good option for the city is to engage one as the head corporation counsel and the firm Mac McQuillan through Haynesworth Sinclair Boyd as the assistant city attorney, working with Brent Halverson in particular issues that they might have more expertise on.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add for the public's benefit, some of the commentary. We've had Haynesworth Sinclair engaged in activities in the past in terms of real estate, marina issues. So I think the problem we're trying to solve or anticipate is a broad reach that doesn't give up institutional knowledge, but gives us access without having to make these individual decisions as things crop up, and hopefully lowering the cost of FOIA and other issues. And the concern that we had as a committee was, we're both parties were Halverson and Halverson in agreement with Hainsworth Sinkler. And I think, John, what you're alluding to is Desiree had those conversations from the time that we met. And everybody seems pretty content that this is an arrangement that will work and give us kind of a new legal strategy that should serve us well going into the future.
Yeah, John, I know. So these firms had applied or answered an RFP for assistant city attorney, and now did we go back to all those participants and ask them to bid on the city attorney slot at this point? Because I know there were other people that bid for the assistant.
That's a good question.
We did not. We did not issue an RFP. I mean, time was of the essence. We only had a couple of weeks between receiving the notice from the former city attorney. And, we've, again, have had multiple years of experience with Halverson, with Brent. So I feel comfortable recommending that to the city.
Yeah, and I get that, and I don't disagree with it. I just want to make sure we're treating everybody fairly. And because one of those that bid, I know, is a city resident. So I just want to make sure we're level playing field.
We're saying is that sounds like a legal question.
Well, we can't help you tonight.
Yeah. Just have a question. Does anyone in the city administration review the attorney's time sheets?
Yes, I do.
How do they bill? Like 1/10 of an hour or what?
15. Every 15 minutes.
Quarter an hour.
Quarter of an hour.
I need those attorneys.
I'll make one comment. All right, were you finished?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Just because one of the shifts that we expect from this strategic change is that this should be much more cost effective for the city from a legal strategy standpoint, because we have pretty competitive guaranteed rates from both firms. And so particularly with Hainsworth Sinkler Boyd, where we will be farming out a lot of the specialty work because of the breadth of knowledge that they have at that firm, with our guaranteed rates for the work that we'll need done, rather than going out to specialists like we've been doing, who are going to give us whatever market rate they're going to give us. We've got guaranteed rates with Hainsworth Sinkler Boyd. So cost wise, we should be in a much better place.
And just to add some commentary, the city council appoints this every year. So every year the city has an opportunity to reevaluate this decision. Is it working? Is it not? Do we need to change the legal strategy? So that won't change. This is something that we'll look at again in a year and determine whether this is the right next step for you all in terms of legal representation.
That actually brings up a good question. Are we appointing somebody for a 12-month period or for the remainder of this calendar year?
I believe so. I believe I'm going to try to pull it up, but I think the code says that there's appointments at the end of the year. So you all would be appointing through December 31st, and December 31st, you all would, if you want to keep going, you do the same thing, but it's codified that it has to be done in December.
John, just one other quick comment in terms of other potential candidates. We are in the middle of many legal issues and many complexities, and in support of Desiree's recommendation, I think frankly we have to have somebody step in without a learning curve right now. And it is kind of an exigent circumstance to look at and recognize at least where we're at right now with the number of legal issues that this city's been challenged with, that we've got to have some continuity of process here. And while I think if we look at it, if it's not working out and we need to do something different, we should address it, or the next council should address it. But I think for expediency, we really need to move forward. We've had a lot of experience with Brent. I've had some personal experience with him lately, and he's doing an outstanding job.
And I don't disagree with any of those comments. I just want to make sure we're communicating well back to people that bid.
Agree.
And again, particularly since one's a resident of our island.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so that was a motion.
Second. Yeah. Do you have a motion?
Yeah.
I seconded it already.
Okay.
I'd like to offer an amendment to consider the city attorney and assistant city attorney separately.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Or do you want me to just, is it easier to make it different?
Yeah, maybe why don't you, you can consider to withdraw your motion and then just make one motion for the city attorney and another one for assistant city attorney.
I will withdraw my second of the amendment.
Oh, we would withdraw the amendment.
And I will withdraw my original motion.
Which I'll withdraw my second.
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, working.
I'd like to make a motion to consider the appointments of the city attorney and assistant city attorney separately.
You don't need
to
make a
do
motion
that.
to approve city attorney and then make a second motion after the vote on that for assistant city attorney.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brent Halverson of Halverson and Halverson as the city attorney.
I will second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Nicole?
Got it.
We're going to do it twice for you.
They got it.
She's an eraser.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Nay.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-1.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint, is it Mac McQuillan from Hainsworth Sinclair Boyd as our assistant city attorney.
I'll second.
Your discussion? Hearing none. Nicole?
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
All in favor?
Mr. Moy?
Okay, thank you. On next new business, we did discuss changing the hiring process. We had a look at what other cities are doing and just frankly what one of my colleagues on the committee called micromanagement, which I had to agree with, that we should always as a council be looking for ways that we can let staff do the work that they need to do. And when it comes to filling the vacancies of department heads, that those folks report directly to the city administrator. They don't report to us. And again, looking at what other cities do, it's very atypical that the council would be so involved in a hiring process as we are. And so I guess I'll make this another motion that this is an ordinance.
So this is not included in your agenda. We will be presenting some draft language to the personnel committee, and it'll go through the committee process in July.
So expect that in July. I'm
Thanks
really making as many motions as I can and I'm ready to go. All right, so that's going to happen. Okay. We had a good discussion about it. We moved on from that great discussion to one that was prompted by Councilmember Smith. She gets credit for this. It was a fantastic idea to nominate Howard Hogue, aka Beach Santa, for a Signal 30 award. Personnel committee unanimously and enthusiastically supported this, and this is, I believe, a motion.
Oh yeah.
For council to consider. So I'll make that in the form of a motion that we. Actually, Councilmember Smith, would you like to make the motion?
I would like to.
Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, I will make the motion to approve the nomination of Howard Hogue, Beach Santa.
I'd like to second that.
A Signal 30 award. Thank you.
Discussion?
Well, Councilmember Smith outlined his achievements really, really well in the personnel agenda, but this guy has contributed so much to our community selflessly, both in terms of the acts that he's been providing. Frankly, he's inspired a lot of other people to pick up litter, and he's provided a ton of data to the South Carolina Aquarium and other organizations that are tracking litter that are helping us address things at a much larger level than just the trash he's picking up. So when you think about what the Signal 30 represents, which is citizens that go well above and beyond. We've only given out a handful of these since it was established in like 2002. It takes a lot to get there, and I think we can all agree that he's gone above and beyond that threshold.
Could I just say something on that? He also helps other communities as well, I think. I mean, he picks up trash everywhere. If I'm not mistaken, he lives up
Goose Creek.
Goose Creek, yeah. So that's quite a drive for him to get around, but he's quite a character, very pleasant man to be around, and I wholeheartedly agree with this.
Anyone? Susan?
Yeah. Thank you. I just, his statistics are so impressive that I just want to take a moment to share that he's collected more than 130,000 items of litter from just Isle of Palms. That's the beach and the commercial district. And that's just what he has officially recorded collecting. He didn't start, he was doing it before he started cataloging statistics with the aquarium in the summer of 2018. He actually, for a year ahead of that, was doing it without recording statistics. So, and you, Council Member Streetman is correct. He has expanded and now does boat landings throughout the area. He actually lives in Monk's Corner. He does roadside up there. He has collected to date, I believe, around 430,000 items of litter around the Low Country. And he does it very diligently. Lots of times, aquarium conservation volunteer Linda Rowe is helping him record the statistics. So those are real numbers. They're not wild guesses. And he puts his heart and soul into it. He's always happy to talk to people about the problem of pollution that he's documenting. And the people on our beaches love to go visit with him and talk with him. So he's a great ambassador and just a kind soul who wants to make the world a better place. So I'm thrilled to hear your enthusiasm for giving him this award.
Okay, anyone else? Hearing none.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
All in favor?
All right, and then the Personnel Committee had one last item of business. We did consider application of new members or new member to the ATAX committee. There was a vacancy due to a member who moved off the island. We had 3 applicants for ATAX. This is a specific role on the ATAX committee, which is by state statute, there are specific assignments and people from different backgrounds and experiences that need to serve on this committee. In this case, we had a vacancy on the hospitality, on a hospitality seat. Each of the 3 applicants obviously met that criteria. The personnel committee interviewed each of these candidates. They were all incredibly qualified, wonderful, amazing, brilliant people that you would want serving on the committee. So we had a difficult choice. Ultimately, we tried to, pinpoint what was the one thing that stood out from all the candidates. And we felt like one individual had hospitality experience above and beyond the rest. And in particular, experience in working with the CVB, which is the recipient currently of about $600,000 a year. And so we felt like that experience would be really helpful to bring to the ATAX committee. And so I'll make the motion that we appoint Glenda Nemes to the ATAX committee.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, and this is for the term that expires December 31st, 2023. So it's a term that had just started at the beginning of this year.
Any discussion? Okay.
I made the
Yeah.
motion.
I second. You did. Just reverse it.
Yeah, discussion and the motion.
We got Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan. Aye. Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Nay.
Passes 8-1.
Thank you. Moving on.
Personnel committee will meet on July 6th at 9 a.m. That's all I got.
Wonderful report. Real property.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real Property Committee met at 1:30 p.m. Monday, June the 7th, and all of the committee members were present for the meeting, as well as Administrator Fregoso and Director Carr. We approved the minutes of the May the 4th meeting. We had no citizens' comments or marina tenant comments at that particular meeting. Under old business, we had several items to discuss, and quite honestly, I don't have to be too in-depth with this because we had a great update last week at Ways and Means on the capital projects, and a couple of these were on there. So, I would encourage the public, anyone that wants to go online, isleofpalms.net, and look at the Ways and Means Committee meeting from last week. They can see the slides that were presented on some of these items here, and it would give you a really good, thorough update at that point. Item A was the update on the Marina Dock Rehabilitation Project. We've already talked about that some earlier tonight, but we also have, we talked about what the progress was at the point when we had the meeting June the 7th, but with the update we had last week, we do know that the docks and the anchor pilings have been installed. There were no pile driving issues that were encountered. They've been walking the team have been walking the docks and inspecting things pretty thoroughly each week. Cleats and bollards have been installed. Gangways are on order. And Desiree, if I'm missing anything, if we have any updates on any of this, even from last week, then please jump in there. And it looks like things are going pretty well. And again, we had, plenty of conversation about that earlier in the meeting too, when we talked about the potential completion of the docks, which will be, after Labor Day, but before December the 1st is what we hope. So that was one item we discussed. And item B under the old business was an update on the Marina Restaurant renovation by Marker 116 LLC. And of course, at the time that we had that discussion on June the 7th, Administrator Fagoso and Director Carr had met with David Lorenz, John Bushnell, and James Frank, the city's representative from Insight Group. And they were planning on having weekly meetings. And I think they did have a meeting today, Desiree?
No, we're moving that. We're starting that next week.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's been pushed off for another week. But anyway, there's a lot of work going on down there. The biggest issue I think we've got currently is the 8x8s have not come in, for the restaurant. We're having a little problem with the, with the lumber. Got the steel and all that in and got that in place, but there still is, work to be done to get the lumber in. The plumbing work is expected to start here pretty quickly. And of course, once the materials are delivered, the framing at the deck and the bar will begin. Okay. Then we had an update on the proposed ADA compliant boardwalk at 42nd Avenue. And we really had a lot of discussion. There was a lengthy discussion regarding the scope of the proposal. And of course, Desiree and also Douglas had done a lot of research on this with other communities that had similar type materials in place. And we decided to just kind of reevaluate that because there's a lot of money that was going to be spent, but we're getting feedback from some of the other communities that had similar materials that they weren't so happy with what they had in terms of it being as compliant as it should be. And so, our overall goal, of course, is to enhance ADA accessibility to the beach. So as a committee, we decided then to go to Ways and Means and bring that up and see if we could get some feedback from the rest of council. And the outcome of that last week was that basically we are going to take this back into real property and reevaluate where we are, and take a look at the Moby mat we currently have. And if we need to do some enhancements with that, we'll revisit an elevated boardwalk option. And I'm sure we'll even talk about an additional ADA accessible boardwalk somewhere else on the island, possibly 34A. All of that will be part of the discussion. So more to come on that. We hate to keep pushing it back, and I know there's been a lot of conversation about it, but we really do need to have more conversations quickly as we can and get back to council. Council Member Smith.
Thank you. I have a question about, is it viable to approach OCRM and ask for changes in their regulations so that we could extend a mat farther down? And if Hilton Head's doing it, why can't we do it?
I think Director Carr had already done that at some point, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we've requested permission on multiple occasions. Never been successful in getting permission. And just by virtue of an update, one of our residents has contacted one of our legislators who is intent on at least proposing a change to the Beach Management Act that would allow OCRM authorized that.
Great.
So hopefully, things could change this time that would allow us to do that.
That would make sense.
Okay, Brand?
Channel 4.
Right. Well, I think we heard passionately earlier tonight about about what some of the issues are, and that we all are very concerned about that, and we want to make sure we do the right thing and do it as speedily as we can for the public, for the residents, and also the visitors to this island. Our next item that we talked about was a regular update on the proposed public dock and green space at the marina. And we have that on the agenda every month. We typically don't have a lot of updates other than to say that staff is still reaching out to potential vendors for not only further design and construction once our case has been adjudicated down there with a holdover tenant. So with that, I'll say that we do have a development that happened just today that I just wanted to mention. It's on public record, obviously, but there was a pretrial conference this morning at Magistrate's Court, and the magistrate denied the defendant's motion for continuance. So the trial on the application for eviction will proceed on July the 7th, 2021. And also Judge Lynn, who is the magistrate, did grant the city's motion to dismiss counterclaims. And also he did not allow the defendant to amend to add any new counterclaims. Therefore, there will be no counterclaims proceeding to trial. So just wanted to bring everybody up to date on that. That's the latest information we have on that. Item E, discussion and consideration of noise agreement with Marker 116 LLC. I think that's still out being considered. Is that right, Desiree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And then under new business, discussion of changes to the zoning ordinance to permanently allow outdoor dining at restaurants. I think we're taking that up later in the agenda. So we'll have that discussion here in just a little bit. And consideration of allowing new marina tenants, restaurant tenants, to operate a food truck at the Isle of Palm Marina prior to opening the restaurant as a city sanctioned activity. We did discuss that. And I think at this point, Desiree, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at some scheduling or proposed scheduling from Marker 116 and before we address this as a possible city sanctioned event.
Yes, I mean, I think this item came up as a question because there seems to be a lot of interest in facilitating the new restaurant tenants there to start some operation whenever they're ready. And the question that was presented to the staff is how could the city allow that, because there is a prohibition of food trucks in our community. So we offered as an option that the city does have the ability to host, sponsor, or sanction this event, and they would be exempted from the prohibition of food trucks operating on the island. So we haven't received any specific requests from the marina tenants, but if they do and city council wants to consider that, that would be an avenue that would not require any changes to the code.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, miscellaneous business. The next meeting of the Real Property Committee will be held on Monday, July the 12th at 1:30 p.m. And we did adjourn after that. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any questions? I do have, yeah, Mr. Ward, please.
This food truck thing kind of alarms me. I worry about the brick and mortar businesses, restaurants on the island. How far along, this is the first I've heard of it. How far along is this?
So no, there was a question that if the restaurant wanted to operate a food truck along their property,
Right.
while construction is happening, would the city be able to approve it? So you all could approve that as a city sanctioned event, even though the code prohibits food trucks on the island. So it was just a sort of information for council that if this is something that they want to do and council wants to approve, that would be the avenue available to all of you.
Or council could disapprove.
Correct.
But we have talked about it before.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And the idea of it, I understand, but the throwing around city sanctioned events for who knows how long it was ago. Our usually city sanctioned events is for some event at the front beach or the Windjammer host Darius Rucker, or we have, this would have to be a day or multiple days. And obviously there's a lot of questions that need to come out of this. And like I said, you still got to look at it and the balance of the other. So.
Mr. Chair, if you don't
Yes.
mind. When I first got on council 10 years ago, we had a young lady in Isle Palms. It was Angela Jones's daughter who did a project. And her project was the big wheeled handicap chairs. And she did one of them. And I think we kept it at the Lutheran Church. I'm not sure, whatever happened to that chair, but it'd be kind of cool to have a couple chairs available for ADA needs. Again, I'm just throwing that out there for food for thought. It has nothing to do with real property, but it does have to do with the beach experience for people getting down to do the soft sand.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we did get some information, I think about a week ago, of some of the, the large wheelchairs that some beaches have. We did get some information about that as we have this discussion about ADA compliance, the boardwalks. I mean, all of that needs to be part of the discussion we have. I mean, what's the real fix here? I mean, to really have something we can all be not only proud of, but also really works, is highly effective for anyone that has a disability to visit our beach.
And the problem, I think, back then was, where do we keep it? Because we have no place in the public safety.
Right.
And the Lutheran Retreat offered to do it, but they're not open all the time. So it was kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those chairs are good, but the problem is storage and then trying to utilize them. I think our best route or best option is continuing to do what we're doing and working with the state legislature to try to get those laws amended to where we can extend those beach mats down a little bit further to make that accessibility happen.
As you all know, you may not know this, but the county park does have some of these beach wheelchairs available, and also private vendors that operate on the island also make them available to use.
Thank you. Anything else for real property? Hearing none. Moving on. Reports from city officers, boards, commissions. Board of Zoning Appeals, the minutes are attached. Planning Commission, the minutes are attached. Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, the minutes are attached. Reports from special or joint committees, none. Petitions received, referred, or disposed of, none. Bills already in possession of council. Ordinance 2021-07, ordinance amending Title V Planning and Development chapter as for flood damage prevention. We heard from Douglas during our special public meeting. Do we need to hear from Douglas again on this?
Motion to approve ordinance 2021-07.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on. Introduction, new bills, resolutions, and proclamations. Ordinance 2021-08, an ordinance amending Title VII, Licensing and Regulation, Chapter 1, Business Licenses, classification of rates, lessors, residential units less than 90 days. Douglas, you want to give us a little brief overview?
All right, this one's
by title only, but he needs to.
Yeah, this one's quick. This is a repeat of an ordinance that you all ratified last month. This is being done to get us in step with the new Business License Standardization Act that was just enacted by the state legislature. The ordinance you enacted last month has two different dates. It has an effective date of the license, and then it has a separate set of dates, a separate window for the date for the revenue that the applicant needs to declare and pay on the revenue made in that window. I got one of those windows correct. I got one incorrect. So this is fixing my blunder from last month and correcting that window of time to jive with the new act. Sorry about that.
It was
I blunder every day.
It was a blunder that we all missed, so we apologize. This is just a cleanup.
It's okay. I blunder every day. So don't worry. Okay, this is by title only. Ordinance.
You still need to vote.
Motion to approve ordinance 2021-08.
Okay, do we have a
Second.
motion? Second?
Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Popson.
To help clean up, aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you very much. Ordinance 2021-09. An ordinance to present a non-binding referendum question to the citizens of Isle Palms concerning the wisdom of reducing the size of city council. Do I hear a motion for discussion?
I'll make
We
the
don't
motion.
discuss it. Totally.
All right.
Title only.
You need a motion to approve for
Yeah.
first reading, but
Yeah.
if you want a motion to discuss, you could do that as well. It would have to be by motion.
Okay, this is.
We've done that in the past.
Yes. You can, we have.
Oh, I know. I didn't
I will
realize,
make a
I didn't
motion.
realize you needed a motion to discuss it.
Well, because the code says first reading by title only. There, it's been advised that if you want to have a
I will make a
discussion.
motion to discuss.
Second.
No, we're gonna make the motion.
First, let's do the first motion first.
I seconded that one already.
Okay, but I missed who.
Randy did, and I seconded.
Did you?
Yes.
To approve it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Nicole, roll call.
Gotcha. Councilmember Ward,
What's the motion again?
the motion is to for approve first reading of 2021-09
By title only.
by title only.
We're voting before we discuss, even though there's a
Wait,
motion.
We're putting a motion on the floor,
This is by
which is what
title
we have
only.
to do
always.
anyway.
Okay, all right.
Yes. And then whether or not there's a motion to discuss remains to be seen.
So this is a motion to approve
Yes,
or
sir.
not?
Correct.
Nay.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Nay.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Nay.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Nay.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Nay.
Motion fails.
Okay, moving on. Ordinance 2021-10. An ordinance to authorize the temporary use of new or additional space for outdoor dining services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh,
Second. Wait for shoes to drop. Or Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
aye.
All in favor.
Okay, Desiree, help me on this one. On the proclamation, do we need to vote on this and then read it, or read it and then vote on it?
You vote on it. You can have a motion to approve and then read it before you take the final vote.
Okay, do I hear a motion for the proclamation to support National Safe Boating Week?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Right, you read first.
Do you want to? If you want to read it, you would read
Okay,
it.
here
now.
we go. A proclamation in support of National Safe Boating Week. Whereas recreational boating is fun, enjoyable, and the citizens and visitors of the Isle of Palms are fortunate that we have sufficient resources to accommodate a wide variety of pleasure boating demands. And whereas at times our waterways can become crowded and boating to the unprepared can be risky activity. And whereas not knowing or obeying the navigation rules or the nautical rules of the road, or drinking alcohol, taking drugs while operating a boat,
or choosing not to wear life jackets are examples of human error or a lack of proper judgment. And whereas on average, more than 600 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S. Approximately 70% of these fatalities are caused by drowning. And whereas a vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat equipment or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. And whereas today's life jackets are more comfortable, more attractive, and more wearable than styles of years past, and deserve a fresh look by today's boating public. So therefore, it be proclaimed on this day, June 22nd, 2021, that the mayor and city council of the Isle Palms, on behalf of the city, do urge all of those who boat to wear life jackets and practice safe boating habits. Wow.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
All in favor?
You know, having a slight cold and having to say all of that, I was afraid I wasn't going to get it out. Okay, miscellaneous business. Discussion and consideration of evaluating short-term rental regulations and trends. We have had Ways and Means give us numbers on the number of rentals last year. And amazingly, this year, the numbers are actually down a little bit on short-term rentals. But this has been brought up to us many times in recent weeks. And so I wanted to put it on the agenda for our discussion. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I would, this is a deep topic with a whole lot of legs, and I would recommend we let the Planning Commission dig deeper into this. We looked at it when I was on Planning Commission. Douglas, don't look at me like that. In 2019. And this one requires a lot of coordination and a lot of research and a lot of data and trends. And I think the Planning Commission would be the spot to make this happen.
I totally agree.
Totally agree. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. My only question is obviously there's enough there, but there's so much more that I think feeds into this, just the bigger picture of the concentration of visitors that we have. Could we possibly ask the Planning Commission to look wider scope at the day visitors as well, all the pieces of the puzzle? Or is that too much? Is that too wide?
I think that's two separate, huge issues. If the Planning Commission wants to take up the day trippers, that's on one hand, that's fine. I mean, we all like to see that, but not those two together. I think we might get a report by 2025. Right?
Yeah, I think the short-term rental is such a big issue.
Yeah,
I think it's a singular task, personally.
Should we do that in the form of a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just a couple, well, I don't know if we're making an official motion, but some comments similar to Councilmember Smith's, is clarifying the specific purpose for Planning Commission, because I think previously we kind of gave them this directive that's here on the agenda of look at trends and come back to us with some recommendations. Because we've had some discussions in our strategic planning session, because we have been hearing from the community, and because of the housing trends in real estate, I realize that rental licenses might be down this year, but I think, looking back of what happens with the fallout of home prices and who's able to be buying and selling houses right now, we might see a very significant shift. And so I would say very specifically, the Planning Commission should be looking at livability issues and potentially caps on short-term rentals, and be very explicit that is one thing that we want them to evaluate and look at and consider. Obviously, we're not going to make any moves on anything like that tonight. At some point, I'm going to throw out the word moratorium. I think at some point we do need to consider a moratorium while the Planning Commission evaluates this, because what we don't want to see is ourselves on the wrong side of livability, because we're going to end up grandfathering in everybody who's on short-term rentals. And if we act too slow, we're going to find ourselves on the wrong side, and reeling it back in will take many, many years. Whereas putting a temporary moratorium at some point in the future, I'm not suggesting we do that tonight, but in the near future, when we give Planning Commission that guidance, we know it's going to take them a little while. It's going to take them a few months of research. I fear for potentially passing a point of no return.
Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Randy.
No, I was just going to Councilman Moy's comments. I would ask, and I agree 100% with what you're saying, but even separating that, Planning Commission will take a while, but to direct administration to come back to council and let us know what we can do to put a short-term moratorium in place, right?
Without getting in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, without, violating the law. I mean, do we have the ability as a council to, while Planning Commission does some pretty extensive work, do we have the ability to put moratoriums in place as a council?
You do. It has to be approved by ordinance, which would require 2 readings 1 week apart. The moratorium has to have a specific purpose outlined why the city council believes that a moratorium is necessary, and it needs to have a concrete end date included.
I'm just suggesting we separate those and proceed with both, so that all options are on the table.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go ahead and let Jimmy go.
Go ahead.
I just think, John, I don't disagree with any of your comments. I think before we leap to something, there's a lot of research that's already been done on this topic. So I don't think, not to speak for Douglas and chairman and everything, but I think this could be a fast track to at least get us to the next decision point personally. Because, Ways and Means, we've already done some research. Douglas, Debbie, a number of folks have already gathered a lot of data on this, and we can spend a whole lot of time on the data on this topic just due to some historical issues we have with servers and software and everything else. And, this one and what we talked about at Ways and Means a few months ago, it's more about the trend and what do you want things to look like in 5 or 10 years, and what decisions do you need to make today to get to that point. So I don't sense this as a long drawn out. It can be in phases, to your point. We could come back and talk about a cap or a moratorium or a pause or whatever you want to call it for a while. That could be an action. But again, I think there's a lot of data that we've already served up and done some research on that I think we could get there fairly quickly.
Mr. Began.
Thanks. No, I think there's a lot of information that we can pull from other committees, and I think the way, while we've seen a decrease in the, some of the short-term rental properties that we have, after tonight's meeting, you're going to see a spike right now with the mention of moratoriums and caps and what have you. It's going to, you just generated a spike in short-term rental licenses right now. I think what we really need to do is, with the Planning Commission in this committee or this council, work with Douglas and notice and follow trends. And when you start seeing something to develop, then that's when you start throttling it back. And that's where the Planning Commission is going to come together, is trying to develop a plan when those trends start to increase and following our strategic plan that we've been putting together. And that's really where it needs to work in combination with those.
So Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I feel like some of these issues could potentially be helped through greater enforcement that we might need to, in the short term, be thinking about. Perhaps, I don't know if Douglas and our police force could use some help around livability, that we might be investing more in staffing, or to make sure that when there are concerns that come up through our residents, that they are dealt with efficiently and quickly.
Just recently up at the State House, there was a movement to block monies from the state to any community that limited short-term rentals. And that proviso was taken out last week. But we have a delicate balance that we have to take care of on its own, for our residents. And, our taxes are subsidized. Our lifestyle is subsidized by tourism and visitors. But at the same time, we still want to protect the quality of life for our residents more than anything else. Mr. Streetman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't add much because I think we all agree that the Planning Commission where this needs to go next, and to work with some speed on that and some recommendations. Just wanted to make one note. It should be duly noted that other neighboring communities around us are beginning to address this issue. So some of the things that some of these other municipalities end up doing could greatly affect us as well. So in regards to if they put moratorium or caps in place and we don't have them, that could be an adverse effect for us as well.
Desiree, do you know if this is a topic on the MASC agenda down there in Hilton Head?
I do not know if they have
I think we're going to hear a lot about it in the near future. So anyway, was that a motion to move to planning?
Sounded like it. Yeah.
I'll second it then. Okay. We have a motion and a second to move it to Planning Commission for their review. Any discussion?
Just,
none?
Just a recommendation. If you all want to give some type of deadline to the Planning Commission, if you want to say we want to see a report in 90 days, 60 days, that's certainly an option. I was just addressing Councilmember Moy's comment about specific asks of the Planning Commission. If there's an expectation of council for taking action, that's certainly an option for you all to consider.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
To that, I think we can just rely on Douglas to communicate our urgency versus giving it a specific deadline. I'd make sure they do it right.
Okay. Nicole?
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Moy?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman?
Aye.
Councilmember Towns?
Aye.
Councilmember Popson?
Aye.
Mayor Carroll?
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you, ma'am. Next meeting, regular meeting, 6 p.m., Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. And number 11, executive session in accordance with SC Code Section 30-470A1 to discuss personnel matters and applications for boards and commissions and city attorney. Upon returning to open session, the committee may take action on matters discussed in executive session. Not needed tonight.
No, sir.
Because we've taken care of that.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Yeah, you right. I was timing you, man.
Would you have an hour 50?
He said 1 hour 50. He looked like he was going to be dead on.
It's going to be dead on, man.
Man, I didn't know what that ahead of time.
It's on the minutes.
Yeah, what?
Really interesting.